Right, now we get down to business. We're getting into the proper stuff now, proper tutorials. Today I'll run through a basic re-roof, and up and over using standard pan tiles as a good place to start. That's where most of you will start if you're newbies. Right, assuming that you've got a scaffold, and believe me, I've done re-roofs without a scaffold. It's not advisable, but I have done. Try and sidestep them if you can. The first thing you've got to do before stripping off your roof is to check the weather. If it's going to rain all day, it's only worth starting. Probably not even worth coming out your front door or even getting out of bed if you don't want to. If you're good to go and the weather's still a bit iffy, then make sure that you are carrying a tarp, sheets to sheet up, emergency cover. The first thing to do then, if you're going to go for it, is to scaffold batten out your gutters, securing them by attaching lath to the main scaffold with a few lath nails. Make sure they're nice and secure. The scaffold battens may sit behind the scaffold standards, the uprights, to give you a bit of extra strength. That's got to carry a lot of weight, so make sure they are secure. That will carry all your weight. Strip the roof off, ridge downwards. Obviously you can strip it upwards, but people have done, but much quicker stripping it ridge down, and all your top tiles first. You might need a man in the middle to break the fall of what you're stripping to stop them coming down too fast, particularly if you're salvaging the tiles or whatever and you're not skipping all of them, you're salvaging some and getting some money off them. Don't overload your scaffold battens either. You just break more tiles and put wet pressure on the gutter, which may break. When you think there's enough at the bottom, you've got enough of a pile, just scoot down and give you muckers a hand, get everything in the skip or salvage or whatever. Don't put that scaffold under too much weight, and keep a tidy scaffold along the way if you can. You don't want trip hazards and all that. You can tidy up properly at the end of the strip, but keep it tidy along the way. You don't want to be tripping over when you're carrying the tiles around the front. If you're throwing stuff into the skip, we've been on this one before. Don't throw anything down when anybody's passing underneath. If you're in any doubt as to people passing underneath, then you want to be shouting below, not whispering it. You want to be going below, and people will know something's coming. So you clear all your gutter of the big stuff first and repeat the stripping process until you're down to the lath. Right, so now you're down to the lath, you've got all your stuff in the skip or on the side. You strip your lath off with a hammer if you've got felt on it, or if you've got no felt on, like a lot of the old properties, just use a piece of lath, a piece of new lath to prise all your laths up. De-nail your rafters on the way. You don't want to be leaving nails sticking up for your felt to get caught on when you're holding it out. Keep your lath away from the skip when you're throwing it down. Shouting below again. Keep your lath up to one side, and when the roof's finished and all your stuff's, all your debris in there, throw your lath on top, because it takes up too much room otherwise. So once you've got all your lath off, de-nail all the rafters, you're nice and clean. You've got nice clean rafters. Now you're down to your bare rafters, and at this point you want to be checking your fascia timbers and your gutters if you haven't already quoted for them. If you quoted them, and carry on and do what you're doing. If you haven't quoted for them, have a look at them, because it's not easy sometimes to spot a rotten fascia timber, especially if somebody dodgy has covered them up with UPVC capping. If the fascia timber and all the PVC need changing, then it's time for a conversation with the customer if you haven't quoted for it, or the builder, whoever's running that, to see if they want them replaced, and also to see whether they want new gutter or keep the old, reuse the old, and obviously all the cost implication of that. And you can have that conversation, sort it out, and then get to the other side of that conversation. Then you might have to do some refurbishment of the fascias. Once that's done, we can get on with the lathing and felting. I will say at this point, it's worth using eave trays on your jobs. We do use them on most jobs these days. They're only cheap, and it keeps the elements at bay, and it stops your fascia from rotting. Also keeps the felt out of the gutter, because you don't want that felt sucking up the water. If you're using eave trays, when you're rolling your first felt out, roll at the bottom of the felt level with the fascia, so it doesn't show under the tiles, and there's no need for that felt to be in the gutter then at all. Just keep it on top of your eave trays, and then once that first felt's on, I usually pop my eave trays in, or get somebody to pop them in for me, all along the fascia line. If you're not using eave trays, lap your felt into the gutter a couple of inches, but not to the bottom of the gutter, because it'll just suck the water up, and obviously that's going to dampen your timbers and ultimately rot your fascia, which you don't want, because breathable felt, although it's water resistant, it will suck water up like a sponge. My weapon of choice for tacking down my felt is a stapler. Now, other people say you shouldn't use a stapler. I use a stapler. It's good in the wind. When you've got a real blustery day, you want to get it down fast. Other people say you should use felt tacks. That's up to you what you do. Right, if this is a detached house and it's an up and over, you've got no considerations about next door at all. Just carry on regardless. If it's an up and over in a block, then you're going to have to check next door's gauging. Now, if you're using the same tiles as next door and the gauging is good, you may want to tile straight out of next door's tiling, like I say. If the gauging is bad and they've stretched the courses or whatever, and you think that might be the reason that the roof is leaking, then you may want to put an extra course in and use bonding gutter. Basically, the rule is if your gauging's sound and your tiles are compatible, and you can mix and match certain tiles, tile straight out of a double Roman with a mendip or something like that, you can, and the gauging's good, you can gauge your roof off next doors and tile out of it. If not, just lath your roof independently and use bonding gutter. I'll concentrate on the independent process for now, if that's okay, because that's a basic roof. So now you've laid out your first felt, now you need to measure your first lath, and I only ever measure my first lath first, just to get a measurement to the top of the roof, which we'll explain in a minute. The first lath, with the majority of pan tiles, majority will be 340. That's the majority of pan tiles, which is just 340, just over 13 inches. There'll be exceptions, like I say, but I'm generalising. For the first course, you measure 340 millimetres from the outside edge of your fascia, including the UPVC capping, and mark the felt at that point. Do the same at both ends in case your roof's out of square. You've got to do it at both ends to strike it out anyway, but you'll see why both ends in a minute. Use a decent chalk line to strike out your mark between the 2 points. I use a canistered chalk line with dry chalk in it. We used to use an old razzle line, and you look like you're been self-harming. But these days use a dry chalk line. Don't get it wet. If it starts raining, put that dry chalk line away, because once it gets wet, it's only a matter of time until it snaps, and it's usually a fairly small amount of time before it snaps. Just a point, if you're using dry verges with no gable end boards and it's just bricks, you may want to overlap your laths and leave them trailing just for a while, and we'll get to that point later. Some people will get the first felt lath in before they measure to the top. I just tend to get my first lath on, and then I'll measure to the top. This is important. This is the important bit regarding gauging now. You got to gauge your roof out correctly to make it look better than any other roof. You've got to gauge it out correctly, and you've got to start now, right from the first lath. Right. Just a side note here. Assuming that you've QS'd this job, quantity surveyed this job, and you know the pitch of the roof, and the tiles that you have ordered are fit for purpose, then carry on. When I say fit for purpose, I mean that the manufacturer's specifications say that the tiles are suitable to be used on this roof at this pitch. If someone else has been involved in ordering the tiles, like the builder or even the customer, if they've been responsible for ordering the tiles and you've got any doubt whatsoever, then double check the spec, the manufacturer's spec, because you save yourself a whole lot of ball ache. It does happen, the wrong tiles can be ordered. You can measure the pitch of your roof yourself these days on your phone. We used to have a little gaugey thing, but now you do it on your phone. You've got a gradiometer on your phone, download it for free. Just stick it on your roof across two lath or on the rafter itself and work out your pitch. Look up the spec of the tiles and away you go. Also bear in mind that smooth face tiles have got a different tolerance to sand face with regard to capillary action. Sand faced will suck up water a lot more easily. So that affects the suitability of the tile for that pitch. If the tiles are not fit for purpose, then somebody is going to be paying a restocking charge somewhere. Maybe you, if you've QS'd. Also, be aware that different tiles have different tolerances when it comes to gauging and the pitch. It's one type of tile, as opposed to another, will go down to a certain pitch and another one won't. You'll have to check the manufacturer spec again. And the general roofing rule is whatever material you use, slate, tile, or whatever, then the lower the pitch, the more headlap you need. Headlap being the amount of distance one tile or slate overlaps the tile or slate below. Check the spec. Always check the spec. Keep saying that. Right, back to that first lath that you've already got on. At each end of the roof, you measure from the top of the lath to the top of the rafter at the apex, at the ridge line. Top of the lath to the apex at the ridge line. For pan tiles, the general rule is you subtract 50mm, 2 inches from that measurement, and with that measurement there's a formula to apply to it, and that will tell you what your gauge should be. Using this formula makes sure that all your perps and your diags are going to run nice, and your roof is going to look sexy up that way and sideways. You know, don't end up with a silly short course at the top at your ridge line. So this is very important. The first measurement that you need is from the top of your first lath, which you've already got on, to the apex of the roof, where the rafter meets the ridge board, top of the rafter. Now for pan tiles, you need to keep your top lath 50mm down, 2 inches down from the apex of the roof to accommodate the nib on your last course of tiles. So you need to subtract that 50mm from the previous measurement, and that gives you the measurement between your first lath and your last lath. Now for pan tiles, the maximum gauge is 340mm. So you need to divide the distance between your first lath and your last lath by 340. Unless you're lucky, that won't give you a whole number. It may give you something like 14.7, 15.2. So you round that number up. So if it's 14.7, it becomes 15, and that is the amount of courses you've got. Then you divide the distance between your first lath and last lath, which you've already got, by that number, and that gives you your gauge. So we'll do a quick example. That will be the distance between your first lath and the apex is 3,620mm. Subtract 50mm from that, which gives you 3,570mm. 3,570mm divided by the maximum gauge, which is 340, equals 10.5. Round that up to 11. That's the amount of courses you have. Divide the distance between your first lath and your last lath, which was 3,570, by 11, and that equals 324 point whatever, close enough to 325. So that is your gauge. 325mm is your gauge all the way up the roof, and everything stays nice and even. If it's that. Right, now you can lath out the rest of your first felt. With regards to felt lap, when you finish the first felt, you put your next felt on. You'll see lines on the felt, one at definitely 100mm and one at 150mm. This is the amount of lap you need your next felt to cover your previous felt by. They say the 100mm line is generally for southern areas. The 150mm line is for northern areas, but if in any doubt, check the manufacturer's spec. I tend to go for the 150mm line anyway, just to be on the safe side wherever I am. Tack all the rafters at the overlap to stop any wind lift, or in some cases people might want you to batten that lap. They're asking for that these days sometimes. And you carry on to the top of the roof in this way, using your calculated gauge. Check every now and again, just in case any deviation, and you need to recalculate at any point what your gauge needs to be. When putting lath on, use nails at least 45mm longer than your lath is deep, as you want plenty into that rafter. Also keep a check on your staggering your joints of your lath. Don't have any more than 3 in a row lath joints, or check the latest spec. 3 is usually the rule. Go 3 and then stagger the joint all the way to the top, and you should hit that lath for your pan tiles at 50mm down, and then you're all lathed in and you're ready to go.